Well, this is the place that we're going to be talking about for the next 10 to 15 minutes, and hopefully this is a fairly familiar sight to all of you. And having got off the plane and found it was 2 degrees here, I just thought I'd remind myself that it is the start of summer over in Australia at the moment. We all have a few gripes about our various governments, but one area where the Australian government is well regarded is in its innovation policy and its commitment to publicly funded research and development. So it's a very good, nice pleasure to be here today talking about some of the things that's going on in this space. We package everything under the title of our innovation agenda, and that seems to fit nicely with where the Framework 8 is going. This really just gives you a sense of the overlying strategies that Australia has developed over the last couple of years to encourage science and technology collaborations, both at home and internationally. The innovation policy work is led by our Ministry for Innovation, Industry, Science and Research, and then other agencies like Austrade, where I work, support the implementation and provide the arms and legs on the ground in locations like Europe. And as you can see here, we've had some quite significant funding boosts over the last few years. So after actually deciding that innovation is terribly important for the future competitiveness of Australia, the next thing that we obviously did is look at where is the international collaboration that Australia has. And it's very pleasing to note that about 45% of the current international collaborations outside the medical R&D are here in Europe. And I think that's a great demonstration of the work that has already taken place. So needless to say, that has led to a big focus on how Australia can continue to strengthen and foster the relationship here with the EU in the science and technology area. There are a number of different mechanisms here that I've listed. The first one is the Australian-EU Partnership Framework. And for those of you who saw our Prime Minister come through a few weeks ago, you may have heard her talking about the fact that she is going to be placing a lot more emphasis on research and development, innovation and science and technology in pursuing the relationship with the EU during her term of government. The other key initiative is the Australia-EU Joint Science and Technology Cooperation Committee, and while the group was on its way to New Zealand, it stopped off in Australia as well in June this year, and as a result of that we have a cooperation roadmap that's running for the next couple of years, and needless to say, ICT is one of the major priority areas identified for the focus in this in the cooperation space. Another group that I really need to give a plug for is FEAST. They're the Forum for European Australia Science and Technology Cooperation. They do a brilliant job at helping to increase Australian participation in the EU research programs. They've just done a survey of Australian involvement in FP7, and they found that there are over 200 projects where there is some Australian involvement. It tends to be quite focused, and luckily for us today, around about 80% of it is in areas such as ICT and the health biotech space. So I think this is really pleasing because it really shows there are strong links already between Australia and the EU. There's a lot happening, especially in ICT, and it gives us a really good base to build on going forward. Now, my organisation, Austrade, tends to focus more at the commercial end of the innovation cycle, so we like to look not just at what government is doing to invest in and support Australian research, but we like to look at what industry is prepared to do as well. And these are just 3 examples of some investment announcements that have been made over the last few months. And what they basically show is that international industry is also recognising the expertise that Australia has in ICT, science and technology research. And we like to see that as a good demonstration of the fact that we have something to offer going forward when we look with EU collaborations. SAP Research would be well known to nearly all of you here, and they have just opened a second laboratory in Sydney, and also working with the Fraunhofer, as is NICTA, to look at what more we can do with embodied systems. IBM labs are very hard to come by in this world, but Australia is very pleased to have announced one in the last couple of weeks. And Thales has just started a new centre in Australia in Melbourne. This is where SAP researchers decided to set up, and whilst I love Darmstadt, I have to tell you that I think Brisbane has a few other things going for it as well. So what does my organisation do? Just very briefly to give you a sense of where I fit into the picture, we actually help to profile the Australian ICT capability, which is why I'm here today, and we'll be looking at doing some more of that over the coming months, particularly in June in Brussels. We help Australian research groups to come and find international collaborations and partners for particular projects that they may be working on, and to help to find commercial partners to take their research to market. And we also help European groups that are looking to do collaborative research in Australia. So we try and bring the players together and do a little bit of matchmaking. So hopefully now that we've established that Australia has good innovation credentials, some strong linkages with the EU, some very strong ICT research strengths, and is open for business, the next question you're obviously going to be asking is, how do we get involved in this? What sort of support programs are available? And there are a number of different mechanisms that I'll just run through quickly, but you can take down from the presentation later if you want to look at these more closely. The International Science Linkages Program has been very successful. It's just coming towards the end of its funding now, which is why the pool of funds looks a little bit small. It's under review at the moment, and we're expecting something to come out in the next few months so that we have a follow-on activity after June of next year. The ARC grants program is well regarded and does a lot of front-end research work, and you can see some of the support that's available there. We also have our CSIRO National Flagships Collaboration Fund, and it's great to have Gary here today from CSIRO. He can tell you more about that and how you can become involved in it. There are numerous research and exchange programs that we can give you more information on. And perhaps one other that's worth mentioning is the Square Kilometre Array project. This is an initiative where Australia is trying to attract the Square Kilometre Array to West Australia. And behind that, the government is investing in a lot of computing capability in Australia, which will hopefully open up new research opportunities across a wide range of applications. So by now I hope I've got you a little bit inspired. So if you would like to find out more about the opportunities for collaboration, the good news is you don't have to wait very long. There is a series of seminars on how EU groups can access Australian funding support running throughout November in 3 different locations. And these are being supported by FEAST, which I mentioned earlier, and by CSIRO. Or if you want to grab the moment, that Gary Morgan is here today from CSIRO, and myself, and over coffee and lunch you're welcome to talk to us about what we might be able to do to help. We're just part of the picture, so I've got our contact details up there. But other people, if you're based here in Brussels, you might want to talk to Martin Gallagher, who's our science counsellor based here, or talk directly to FEAST about what they can do to help you as well. So we would hope obviously to have a chance to welcome you over to places like Perth. This is where we're bidding to have the Square Kilometre Array facility, another nice location with an average temperature of in the mid-20s. Most of the time. It's not only looking at its supercomputing capability, but also research into mining software, geoinformation, mapping and exploration, because it's also a big resources centre. But thank you very much. I hope to hear from you, and I look forward to being able to do more to foster the linkages between EU and Australia in this space.